Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining this law firm owner's survival and thrive plan. I'm pretty sure you're going to learn something over the course of the next hour. Now, thinking back over the past 20 years, I've seen some fantastic law firm marketing experts speak at dozens of conferences over the years. However, I have learned that being a great speaker doesn't necessarily translate into being great at the job. Now, I'm very pleased to say Nick is great at the job, and that's because he's a doer. When I studied marketing at university as part of my business degree, I was a little bit frustrated that it was all about theory, very, very little about the actual practice. With Nick, it's all about practical steps to success. He's got a very good book full of practical ideas, which I'm quite happy to plug. It probably will look like a mirror to you, but it says the law firm growth formula. Very, very easy to read, very well written. So Nick is going to be presenting the overwhelming majority of this webinar, and I'm going to be spending a few minutes a little bit later talking about how to get to top of page 1 on Google searches. So Nick, thank you very much for participating, and over to you.
Thanks very much for inviting me to, David. Very happy to talk to your clients and people who know you. What you said there about marketing reminded me of when I did the law finals at Guildford. I'd done the trainee legal exec route, and then I did the finals, and by that time I was running a full caseload and billing more than most people in the firm and doing the marketing. And I did the practice course and thought none of this is relevant. It really didn't tell me anything about working in the legal world, but that was the legal finals course. And there we go. So today, as David said, I'm going to take you through some things which I hope you will find helpful. The mindset you should have now in these still strange times, and things have moved on, but they're certainly not back to normal. And will they be? That's something we're going to have to keep monitoring. But as business owners, law firm owners, you've got an opportunity to steer things and to make sure your firm comes out of this as strong as it possibly can. We're going to look at marketing fundamentals, the basics that you need to know that no one really talks about. And I have a theory for that, which I'll go into. But if you can understand these marketing fundamentals, then you can understand most marketing and get most marketing right. So I'm always keen for people to understand that, because if you do, whether you work with me or anybody else, most of the decisions you make when it comes to growing your law firm will be the right ones. So I'm keen that you know that. Then we're going to talk about the getting your marketing fit, the things that you should have in place now, and then going to give you a marketing plan and some other resources which normally are only available for my paid clients, but because David asked me to do so, I thought it would be useful for you to have some access to them. Because as we all know, you can go to any event, you can attend any webinar or seminar, and if you do nothing afterwards, nothing's changed. It's a waste of time. I don't want this to be a waste of your time or mine. I want you to take some action. I want to give you some resources to help you do that, and so that you can make your firm better and get clients coming to you, which is what it's all about. Very short background. David gave me an intro, and I don't like talking about myself because it's rather dull. But there's my background. I was a solicitor. I did run a full caseload and do the marketing in the law firm I worked for. Since 2003, I've worked with law firm owners to grow their businesses. And finally, after being nagged for a long time, I put the book together, which was published in 2016. And the main reason I wrote that book was to stop people spending money on the wrong marketing methods. Because there's a lot of people that sell stuff that they say will work for you, and normally they sell it in the way that they phone you on a Friday about 4:30, and they tell you if you don't take their advertising, they're going to sell it to your competitor next door or the competitor in your niche. So I wanted people to get access to something that would tell them what they should look out for, so they could know to buy the right marketing and ignore the rest. So that's hopefully what the book does, and there's some very flattering reviews, which I'm very pleased about. So hopefully it's struck a chord with enough people. So let's move on. Your mindset. And although things have moved on, some law firms have been particularly slow to react. Some seem to shut their doors completely. Some sort of did a bit, but not a lot. And it's not a great place to be. I know a lot of people turned off their marketing as soon as they came into this. A lot of my clients actually turned their marketing up because they knew that other competitors would disappear. They wanted to make sure they stepped into their space and took whatever they could client work in whilst everyone else was sort of getting by. And it's worked very well for some of them. So, your competition, I know that solicitors focus a lot on the competition. I would normally say to you, don't do that, because it doesn't, often it doesn't help. It's not a great thing, and some become obsessed, and I say, why are you obsessed with your competition? Oh, they're doing so well. And I look behind the scenes and I can tell they're not. So generally you don't need to worry about your competition. The good news is most of your competition don't do a great deal. You only have to do a little bit more than them, and you can get some great results. So that's a really useful thing for you to know. The place for you to be is to be a thought leader to your clients, to be doing more for them now than you otherwise would do. And that comes in the shape of serving them, not selling them, thinking about the troubles or concerns your clients are having. If you're in the property sector, thinking about the market waking up again, how you can help them, the opportunities that might exist for quick sales, quick purchases. Getting the dream home, which they didn't think was possible, may now be so if someone needs to get out of it because they've no longer got a job. So there's going to be opportunities in each sector in different ways. Obviously, normally in any time where people spend a lot of time together, the divorce rate goes up. There'll be a lot of people that have lost their jobs that will be thinking of starting businesses. So there's opportunities out there in all of the legal sectors, whether you're business to business or business to client end user. And that's where you need to be thinking about what you can do to help your clients through this new normal, through the new process. So that's really important. And think about what David's done here, putting on these events for you. He's obviously said, what can I do to help my clients? They're unsure, uncertain what's going on. This is a unique time. So he's put on some Zooms for you, some presentations to try and give you extra help. He could have just said, well, nothing much is going on compliance-wise because a lot of people are shut, so I'll just hide away. But he didn't. He thought about his audience. He thought about you and thought, how can I serve you better? How can I look after you better? And that's why you're here. So think about, your clients probably better than most people. So think about your ideal clients. Think about what they're worrying about now, and then offer them help, whether that's through B2B, through LinkedIn, whether it's through your email marketing list, and we'll talk about that, whether it's putting on Zooms for them, or it's sending them information by email, or sending them PDFs or books, whatever it might be. Just think about them now, and that will reward you coming out of this, because I know even from the property market, I've got friends that are estate agents, and their solicitors that they've used for years just went silent for 2-3 months. And they were really upset by that, and they will now look to go to their competition because they weren't well served. So make sure you're serving your clients and your referrers really well. We're moving on to marketing fundamentals. The background noise I had has gone. David, can you still hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up. Okay, good. I wanted to check my mic hadn't died. So I'm going to talk about your marketing DNA, and this is really important because when you understand this, it dictates what sort of marketing you can and can't do. And there's 2 types of DNA, now or nurture, and we're going to look at both. But the reason you must know which category your service fits, your legal services fit into, is so that you can do the right type of marketing. If you have marketing DNA now, you are lucky. In that you could literally turn on the tap for new inquiries tomorrow, subject to there being movement in your sector, and you can get work coming through the door. So if we to go back to conveyancing, which I was talking about, conveyancing is a now service. People go online, they type in, I want a solicitor for conveyancing, they land on your website. If you've done everything right on your website, then you will get a phone call, you get an email, you get an inquiry form for a quote, and you can take the matter to the next level. So most B2C fall into the now category. You have marketing DNA of now. People have an urgent need for your service. That's the now part. So if I want to make a will, I want to make a will now, generally. If I want to make a lasting power of attorney, I want to make it now. If I'm researching lasting power of attorney, then maybe I want to download a guide, find out some more information. But if I look for a lasting power of attorney solicitor, I'm looking for that need, that scratch to be itched right now. So it really is a very easy way of getting work through, and I'll keep coming back to these DNAs throughout the presentation so that you can see how it works in practice. In terms of DNA nurture, you have to work a little bit harder. And let me give you an example for me. So for my business, I definitely fall into the marketing DNA nurture. Sadly for me, because it means I have to work a bit harder, but once I work harder, I can still get that steady and consistent flow of new clients that we're all looking for. So what it means is, sadly, no solicitor wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to get myself a marketing consultant right now, and I'm going to find one, I'm going to phone him, and I'm going to say, Nick, work with me right away. I wish they did, but I haven't got that type of business. I've got a business where I have to nurture a relationship with solicitors, hopefully prove them that I know enough about what I do for them to then have a chat with me, and then we can discuss whether there's opportunities to work together. So for me, if I didn't get people to download free guides, asking them if someone goes looking for marketing ideas, and I download my marketing ideas guide. If they go looking for how to grow a law firm, they download my grow a law firm guide, or they buy the book and come to me that way. If I didn't have those resources out there for people to be able to download that information and then allow me to follow up by email, then I wouldn't have steady and consistent flow of clients that I get. In the legal services market, a lot of B2B services fall into this category, particularly if you think perhaps about employment law services. Most employers already have a solicitor. If you want to get their business coming to you, at some point you want them to fall out with their current solicitor and get to the point where they're looking to change them. If you have not come across the bow of these perfect clients several times and hopefully got them onto your email list by offering them something of value in exchange for that, and keep on talking to them at least on a monthly basis and communicate with them through LinkedIn. If you haven't done all that, your chances of getting them coming back to you are very small. So nurture is all about offering something of value in exchange for their email address. It could be a video series, it could be a free book, it could be a free guide. It doesn't matter as long as it's something that gives value and helps them with their challenge of being employers, or for David it would be compliance issues. Perhaps you can offer a guide relating to compliance. I think David's probably I think you're probably in the sort of halfway house. Some people realize they want you and want you now, and others thinking, oh, I don't really know what to do with compliance, so I need to find out more and come to you that way. So you can, and that's the other thing, you can, in an ideal world, you'll offer options for both nurture or now. So that if someone is in research mode, you offer something of value, they download it, give you their email address, and you keep in touch with them forever until they become a client or they stop listening to you. Or if they're a now business and you give them the opportunity to phone you, email you, fill in an inquiry form, or use your 24/7 live chat to get in touch with you instantly. So we'll keep coming through these business to business, often nurture. So you need to be collecting email addresses, you need to grow that email list and talk to it, because that will give you the pipeline for your steady and consistent flow of new client instructions. So it's really important that you know that, and because if you don't, so the problems I've seen in the legal sector is I've had people come to me that have spent £10,000 on a website, which, unless you have a website which is about 5,000 pages long, you shouldn't be spending on a website. Normal price, I would say, would be in the region of around £2,000, 2,000 to 5,000. Any more than that, you're generally just paying for the design agency owner to drive around in a nice car, which is kind of you, but it won't help you get a better website. But we'll come on to websites shortly. So in terms of nurture, you've got to grow that email list, you've got to get people coming to you, and that's what I was going to say about the website. I've seen someone spend £10,000 on a website that was all set up just for people to download their guide to personal injury claims, as it was. There was no telephone number on the website, there was no telephone number in the call to action, there was no easy contact details. You had to hunt them down if you wanted to get in touch with them instantly. And the trouble with that is that personal injury claims are an instant need service. They're a now service. So I've had an accident, I'm not researching have an accident in 6 months, I've had that accident. If I put personal injury solicitor, accident claim solicitor, I'm looking for them right now. If you don't make it easy for me to contact you, I hit the back button, I go onto your competitor and I get their details and give them a call. So I've seen people that have been sold by this marketing guru that they have to offer free guides and that's all they should offer and just grow their email list, but they were the wrong type of business. So when I said, well, I had a chat and said, no one ever downloads that guide, do they? Maybe once or twice a month. How did you know that? I said, because you're a marketing DNA now business. You should have your phone number plastered all over your website. It's all about that. And so that's why it's important you know this, because if you go after the wrong type of lead, you go after getting an email address when you should be going after the phone number, your marketing won't work. So you must know that bit. And there'll be time for questions at the end, I hope, or if not, we could do a question and answer follow-up maybe afterwards, or we'll find a way to answer all your questions. Next part of marketing fundamentals is easy life marketing. I like my clients to get clients finding them at the precise moment in time that they're looking for their service. And that means that you have to do certain types of marketing and avoid others. Mostly interruption is not a good thing in life. I think we'd agree. If you're saying something and someone barges in, a networking event takes over, it's not much fun. So interruption marketing is the same thing. I'm doing something which isn't looking for legal services, and you try and jump in front of me and get me to give you my attention. So this would be newspaper advertising. When I'm reading the paper, I'm not looking for a solicitor, and suddenly I've got a solicitor's ad popping up saying, phone us, contact us, but I'm not looking for a legal service. It would be Facebook advertising. And I've got nothing against it, but it would be the last thing I'd do if you do everything else that I'm going to share with you later, you don't need to do Facebook marketing. And it's interruption marketing because I go to Facebook to look at squirrels dancing or baby pictures and friends stuff. And personally, I don't go to Facebook because I don't have the time or the interest, but that's what I'm told people do. And that's why Facebook marketing can get really cheap leads, but it's really hard to get them to phone you because they haven't had buyer intent in the first place. And that's what I want my clients to get. People coming to them that have got buyer intent behind their searching, their habits. So they've gone to Google and they've said, I need a conveyancing solicitor. They've made the decision to go looking. They haven't been on Facebook and ads popped up, says, thinking of moving house, we're conveyancing solicitors, have a read of this. Where I've shown some interest, said, well, I might move in the next 5 years, but I'm not in the buying mode at that point. So I want my clients to be put in front of their perfect clients at the right time, at the time they are looking for their service. And that is attraction marketing. And that would feature your website. When I go to Google and type in what you provide, your service and your location, I find your website, I get in touch with you. It would be Google AdWords, which we'll look at, Google Ads. It would be having an email list of people that have expressed interest in your services because they've had that interest in what you do and you keep on talking to them. And it would be referrals where other people already have your perfect clients and you talk to those other people and they send them to you at the time. They say, oh, do you know anyone that does this, Nick? And I say, yeah, David does. Go and speak to David about compliance. He'll take care of you. So those are the easy life forms of marketing that we're going to look at shortly. But just always ask yourself if you're being pitched advertising, and normally the people that hard sell advertising, they're doing it for a reason because they know it doesn't work that well, because otherwise it would be fully booked all the time. So which is why it always makes me laugh when people email me to tell me that my website's no good and I should get them to do search engine optimization. It's like, you've just found my website, so if it's no good, how did you find it? And David will come on to SEO in a bit. So always think about what type of marketing you're being sold. And finally, marketing return on investment. Every penny you spend as a small business, and when I say small business, I don't mean that in any derisory term. I think it's classified up to about 40 million. Most of my clients are from a few 100,000 to several million. But at that level, whatever you spend has to put more money back into your business than it takes out. And you have to measure everything to make sure it's doing that. And the starting point I always look for is 3 to 1 as a minimum. And as long as you're getting that, then you're making profit, especially if you offer repeat business off the back of it to those clients. Now, if you offer repeat business, then you can spend £1,000 to get a client that gives you £1,000 1 month if that money keeps on coming in for the following months thereafter. But you have to know your numbers, and you have to know that every penny you spend on marketing is producing a return on investment for you. You cannot afford to spend money on sponsorship. You can do it if you want to, because that's something you want to give back to, but don't ever expect a return from that because you won't be able to measure it. So when it comes to marketing, measure every penny you spend and make sure it puts more money back into your business than it takes out. I have client meetings every month with my clients where we see what they've spent and we make sure it's put more back into their business than it's taken out. I do that because I want them to be able to see it's working. I'm not scared of those numbers. I want to make sure they're making money, because if it's not, we need to change things and make it better. So make sure you know those numbers. So now we're going to get to the stage where we're going to get a bit marketing fit. We're going to look at your website, emails, referrals, and Google Ads. And David's going to do his bit probably in 10 or 15 minutes on SEO, and then I'll come back and do an extra, a small finish. But your website's sole purpose, the reason I love a website for a law firm is every firm should have one. Because even if you're solely getting referrals to grow your business, people go straight to your website to check you out. So it's important you have one. Once you have that website, what's its sole purpose? And the sole purpose is to make your phone ring or to get the contact details of the person visiting you, whether you're a now or a nurture business. It isn't to try and pre-sell your service completely. And this is where a lot of people go wrong. They try and sell the whole service on a page. It's just to take away the doubts, the concerns that your prospects have. Are you the right people for them? To get to the stage where they say, yes, do you know what? I'm happy to give you my contact details. I'm happy to take this to the next level. So your website has to work hard to get those contact details now. It has to work harder now than it probably did even a year ago, because people are far more protective of their contact details, and they're far more choosy about who they're going to work with. So you've got to make sure that you do everything you can to convince them that you are the best solicitor for their needs right now, for whatever their problem is. And there's two ways of doing that. There's depth of expertise and proof of expertise. And the two parts to it are that in terms of that depth of expertise, everyone's looking for, no one wants an average solicitor. Everyone's looking for a great solicitor now. So I want you to prove your expertise to me by having enough pages on your website, if we're talking conveyancing still. Then I expect to find a page about moving, a page about freehold, a page about leasehold, remortgaging, because through that depth of expertise, through seeing 5, 6, 7, 10 pages all about conveyancing, I believe that you actually did quite a bit of this. If I see one page about conveyancing, one page about wills, one page about something, I'm thinking, well, okay, you do a bit of everything, but not really to any depth. It just puts that doubt there, and the only way you'll get your client's contact details is to remove the doubts that are at the back of their mind. And one of those doubts is, do they really do a lot of this stuff? Are they going to be the best people for my needs? So it's important that we have enough depth of pages within each service section to prove that expertise. And then the next bit, which always leads to some interesting chats with solicitors, enough content on the page such that I believe you really do know this topic. And David will talk to you about the amount of content you need for SEO purposes, but just from a human point of view, that we're not all the same. Some people like to skim read and read headings, subheadings, bullet points, images, and go, okay, yeah, tick box, yeah, I believe they actually know what they're doing. Right, now let me get in touch with them. Other people will read every single word on a 4,000 word page. And when I say to solicitors, you need more content on your page, they'll say to me, but Nick, if we put everything down there, they'll do the job themselves. I promise you they won't do that. Maybe probate's the only exception, but even then they'll get so far and they go, just help me with this, please. But the other reason you need enough content on the page is because if you don't have enough, there's absolutely no chance that Google will send anyone to your website. If there's very few words, very little information, you won't get people to your website. And as an example, the last legal firm I worked for before I set up my consultancy in 2003, I managed to build them a massive website, which for its time was way ahead of its time. Spent a lot of money on content, on SEO methods, and it produced a volume of inquiries, a volume of business. But when I met the partner a year later, he proudly explained that they'd got rid of that massive website that I built them and got rid of it and just have a 5-page brochure website now. And I said, and overnight the phone stopped ringing. He's like, how did you know that? That content is what brings the people into your site. And if you don't have enough content, you won't get people making inquiries about your services. And I like to think of it, it's like premium bonds or lottery tickets. If you have one page on your website, it's like having one premium bond. Your chance of winning is very, very slight. If you have 60,000 worth of premium bonds, your chances increase dramatically. And it's the same with your website. If you have one page, 5 pages, you're not going to get many visitors. But if you have a lot of pages, not only does that give you much more chances with Google of people finding you, but it also gives you much more chance of when they find you thinking, crikey, look at all this content about this topic that I'm interested in. They've answered all of my questions. I've no doubt they know what they're doing. Let's give them a call, or let's download their guide and get things to the next level. So that's your depth of expertise. And then the other thing you need is proof of expertise, because you prove through your own words and content on the page that you know what you're doing. Now what we're looking for as a visitor to your site is, are there external tools that show me that you really do know what you're doing? So we're talking about lots of reviews from your clients. We're talking about memberships of specialist organizations, STEP, or different panels of the Law Society. Any press coverage you've had, because all of these things that I might think, I like the sound of your firm now, but then these other things are measured to me that other people think you're good as well. So I run through and I see all these accreditations and memberships, and I see these reviews, and I see how many people you've helped with my situation. And I think, okay, now, I thought they were good. These other people confirm they're good. Now I can take it to the next level. And the only thing I'd say about the membership boxes is if you have the STEP logo or you have Legal 500, don't please link off to their websites for them to go and find more details, because that's the last thing. Once you've got someone to your website, the only thing you want them to do is get in touch with you. And I see so many times that where they've done the first part well, but then I link off to another website, and guess what? I go to the page that allows me to search in my town for people that also offer your services. So I see that mistake made a lot. I'd rather you didn't do it. So that's your proof of expertise. Do these things well. It's prove enough content and have external endorsements, and I suddenly am much closer to giving you my contact details. If you've done all that and you've done it really well, then don't leave me hanging. So don't not then complete the process. Make sure that at the end of every page of your website, if you're a now business, you say, phone me on this number, email this address, complete our free online inquiry. That inquiry should not be on your contact page as it is on most people's websites, because the contact page also has maps and other things, and I start to get confused. And so just be one contact form on one page. And I know this because I've tested it ad nauseum, and it will get you more inquiries. And then live chat as well. And if you're a DNA nurture business, you must give me something that I can have from you in exchange for my contact details so you can follow up. But so many people don't have the call to action at the end of a page, and they say, oh, well, there's on the contact page, Nick, or it's at the bottom of the the little address bar at the bottom. I was like, you've got to carry on that conversation you've had with me with your excellent content, then has to lead into, look, don't worry, call us on this number, email us, make a free inquiry. We'll be happy to help you. If you don't do that bit, you're leaving easy instructions on the table. And I know that because one person, I told them to change their website, add calls to action. All they did was add their phone number, email, and an inquiry form. They went from no inquiries a day to 5 inquiries a day. So it can be that simple. And a lot of things that I say are very simple, but that's because most people aren't doing them. So if you have a good website, you have good traffic to it, but you're not getting the inquiries, it could be as simple as adding contact details at the bottom of every page, and your phone rings a lot more. And if you're a nurture business, offering a downloadable guide, and I'll show you, I'll give you as part of the resources something that you can set up to send out those downloadable guides so that you create them once, and then the emails go out forevermore without you having to do them more than once. Do emails still work? I think you're all here today because of David's email. So I guess that in itself is proof that they do. As I've said to you, my business is based on, it's a nurture business, so I have to provide advice, provide information to prove that I know what I'm talking about, so that when people need me, they can get in touch. I wouldn't have a business without an email list. For solicitors, I have several clients. I'm always nagging them to keep in touch with their list consistently. One client, he had enough of me nagging him, so he sent an email before lunch. He came back to 8 inquiries for wills after lunch. It was that simple. He just had to send the email. So emails are a great way of getting inquiries into your business. And the way to grow your email list is offering the item of value in exchange for an email address. So a guide, a PDF, a video training, access to a Zoom like this, in exchange for an email address. Or with a now business, if you have all of your inquiries coming through the phone, then as you're on the phone with your prospects, you add them to the email list, tell them you've done that, get them to click the link that puts them onto your list, and you can talk with them forevermore. It's these things I'm talking to you about are, if for every solicitor that I work with, whether they're up to 10 million or whether they're just a few 100,000, these are the things that get them the work coming through the door consistently. The methods I'm sharing with you now is all that they need. You know, you can do 1 or 2 or 3 of these things and get as big as you like. You do not need to have hundreds of different things. These are the essential ones, what I call the marketing arteries for a law firm. You can add other things afterwards, but if most of my clients find that when they do these things well and consistently, they don't need to. And that's one of the things that always surprises solicitors, and it's again why I wrote the book. If you do good website, you do emails, you have Google Ads, you do SEO, you can have as much work as you would ever like. Google Ads. So just in case you weren't sure what these are, if I go to Google, type in a search, and they're the 4 that pop up at the top. And lots of solicitors say to me, I've got a call later with a client who've been using Google Ads for years, and it still annoys him because it annoys him that it works so well. I mean, they have been doing it for years and years. Because he said, well, I never click on these ads. And that's what so many solicitors say to me. Nick, I never click on these ads, so obviously no one else does. Well, that number in the blue box, the 41.2 billion, is Google's quarterly earnings at the moment. And most of that income comes from Google Ads. And people don't spend, especially my clients, because of what I told you, got to be a return on investment. My clients don't spend on Google Ads unless it's putting more money into their law firm than it's taking out. And we check those numbers every month, and we make sure that they do. So if you have thought until this point Google Ads doesn't work, that definitely does. In pretty much every sector. On a nurture business, you have to be able to fund it for some time before you get the work coming back in. And some services, like medical negligence, obviously it takes a long time for the money to come through, so you have to be able to fund it until you get to the point that the clients you take on produce income. But for many other businesses, conveyancing, probate, lasting powers of attorney, wills, B2B, some employment and startup businesses particularly, it pays that return on investment 3 to 1 from month 1. I've had some clients get a return on investment of 30 to 40 to 1. So for every £1,000 they got a £40,000 return. I've had clients that have spent 6-figure sums per month on Google Ads, but they only did that because it worked. And that's the point. It is one of the most lovely things to do for me, because I know I can spend money on Google Ads, count up the leads that you've had, work out how many have turned into clients and what costs they produced, and away we go. We know it's working. Amazing for Now services. If you have that Now service of all those services mentioned, it will bring you more work pretty much instantly. We could start it today. If your website was set up properly, your phone would ring from tomorrow. 3 to 1 is what I look for a starting point. And the key thing with Google Ads, if you've done it before and dabbled and spent maybe £100, £200 a month, probably won't have worked. If you've done it before and used an agency that didn't know the legal world, it may have worked, it may have not done, it may have worked okay. Even if you've used specialist legal agency, I've taken over so many Google Ads campaigns where they're specialists in this field, but one of the key things is they don't do any work on the website. I've explained to you just now how important that website is. So I immediately start working on the website as well as Google Ads, and the phone starts ringing. So you either need someone that's a specialist in this area, or if you're going to manage it yourself, you've got to get brilliant at managing it. And there's a big section in my book on Google Ads of how you should manage a Google Ads agency to get the results that you're looking for. Because it is a bit of a technical melee, really. There's a lot of stuff in there, and I think that's why some people get it wrong. Some of the agencies get it wrong because they think it's a technical thing, but it's far more a marketing thing. It's about understanding people and how you can get them across the line to give you their contact details, and that's why it's so brilliant when you get it right, because you can just get more clients coming over your threshold every single day. So it's one of my favorite things because it does that, and because you can have it working without you having to do anything. So you're busy running your law firm, you get someone to run your Google Ads, the website works, your phone rings more, you get more clients, it keeps on working month after month. So it's a great method of marketing for lawyers, because I know that most of you don't have the time to spend hours every day working on your marketing. We're going to come to David's SEO bit. But what I just wanted to say is, if anybody would like, if we have time before 2, if anyone would like me to look over their website live, we are recording this, so it will be replayed. If you don't want anyone to see it, then it will be replayed, so don't give me your details. But if you're happy for me to dive in and give you a few comments to improve it, I'm more than happy to do that at the end of the webinar after David's done his bit, my bit. Just type that into the chat box, which you will find under the More button. More chat, and send a question, send your website URL in there, and we'll have a look. But at this point, I'm going to stop talking, have a sip of water, and pass you over to David Gilmore.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Presumably, Nick, you can see my screen?
Now, if I'm muting myself, I can indeed.
Yeah,
DG Legal, specialist services for lawyers, and great services they are too.
Thank you. Okay, a few minutes then on SEO. Starting with a personal experience, many years ago I hired at a SEO company, and I think you know that SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And of course the point of these companies is to help get your website onto page 1 of Google. The time and money spent on the SEO company that I used was entirely wasted. I learned very little, and the 9 months spent with the company made absolutely no difference to my rankings. Now, I'm not saying that all SEO companies are bad, but many are, and you have to be wary. It motivated me to try and learn as much as I could about how you get a website towards the top of Google for relevant search terms. The magic formula, commonly known as the Google algorithm, is not published anywhere. However, many people have written about some of the relevant factors which give your website that boost to get up the search rankings. In my view, one of the very best ways to learn the key factors behind the Google algorithm is to experiment yourself by inputting into Google what you think are your relevant search words, and then to thoroughly look at those websites to find out what it is about those sites that have got them to where they are on page 1 of Google. By doing this with lots of different search words, I began to understand what you must do. Until fairly recently, many law firms and their agencies have tried to cheat the Google system. One of this country's largest law firms was temporarily banned from Google for hyperlinking to its sites from a high number of blogs, forum posts, which was against its rules. And also they had links from cafes in South America, which clearly wasn't appropriate. So it's best to play fair. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of the different factors which go into the algorithm, but I want to focus on the biggest two really, or two of the most relevant for law firms. Now, if we look at the, if we start by using my own Google business entry, you can see here what we're trying to do is to engage with Google as much as we possibly can. So you can see we play major importance on Google reviews. Again, I had a road to Damascus moment a few years ago when I found out by looking at Google analytical tools that the page on my website, which I was most proud of, which was the client feedback page, was actually looked at by very few people. So instead I focused my attention on Google reviews. And here what we do is we try to engage with Google by making it clear what it is that we do. And also we publicize the events that we are doing. So you can see here there's quite a few different events, and that just helps people know what it is that we're up to at the moment. Now, I have got an experiment to show you, and I want you to watch very carefully. We're going to look at 3 Google searches relevant to my website, and I want you to see if you can work out why 2 are very successful and 1 isn't. We're going to be searching for an SRA authorization consultant, an SQM consultant, and also a Lexel consultant. So if we start with SRA authorization, okay, so at the top we have an advert, then we have the SRA's own website, which isn't surprising because it has such a huge amount of content on. And then we are top of the natural results after the SRA. And on this page, there's information about what we do. And there's also a short video there. Now this time, let's try SQM consultant. Now here, there are some results which aren't relevant. That's an Australian website, that's an assessment body, and then we come up next. Sometimes we don't come up as high as that, sometimes we're a little bit less. So we're not the top result. There's a couple of organisations that are above us. If we just have a look at that page briefly, here we have some information about what we do. Okay, we go back to the search engine. And this time we're going to type in Lexel consultant. If you didn't know what SQM stood for, by the way, it's Specialist Quality Mark, which is a quality assurance standard. Okay, if we look at Lexel Consultant, we're right at the very top, and it's surprising that we're actually above the Law Society, which again has a huge amount of content. Let's click onto that page. And again, we have information about what we do, and we have an animation video as well. Now, I don't know whether you worked out why the SQM wasn't top of the list, whereas Lexel was, and the SRA one was also very close to the top. Well, the key was video. So we deliberately haven't got a video on the SQM page, and that's really just to show you this experiment that video makes a big difference. And it's particularly pronounced in the legal sector because your sector is much more competitive than mine. Therefore, you've got to work harder to make a difference. And on the overwhelming majority of law firm websites, there is no video. So if you have some video, either about yourselves, or if you can't face having video about yourselves, do an animation. That will help your Google ranking. Now let's move on to some solicitor websites. So I'm going to type in, I'm going to imagine that I want a local immigration solicitor. I'm in Leicestershire, so I'm going to type in Leicester immigration solicitor. Again, at the top of the page, you have the ads. Here you have what I call is the magic box. So the one that comes top is Bushra Ali Solicitors. And one of the things that she's doing there is she's engaged well with Google. She's got 39 Google reviews. Kelsey have got 68, but not getting quite as many. And that may be down to the content on her website. She's got some good looking and fairly detailed content on there. And if you look down these other results, again, she's there. But you want to be in this box if you can. And Bushra's not paying any money to get into that box. It's just a free service. Now let's try, let's move into London. We've got more viewers from London than anywhere else. So let's try London Family Solicitor. Okay, now here you've got some ads at the top, but then you've got another what I would call magic box, very similar to what you saw with DG Legal. Now here it's somewhat obvious that the name of Natalie's firm, I have her permission to talk about this, has helped, but that isn't the sole reason why it's gone into this box on the right-hand side. There's also some fairly detailed content on her website about the services that she does. So if I was to click on websites, there's a good navigation menu, and I can click on any of these. In fact, I'll do it from over here. And there's explanation about precisely what it is that Natalie does. So that is very helpful. Let's go back. We're going to stay in London. This time we're going to try London Immigration Solicitor. Okay, now here we have, again, a high number of reviews, and I'm going to pick out a couple. You can see that Rice Edwards is top there. Let's just have a look at Rice Edwards. Now this is a fairly unusual site, and it's clear to me that this particular firm understands the importance of content. Now if you look at the right-hand side of my screen, you can see we're just scratching the surface on this website. It's absolutely incredible. Now,
interesting, David. Can I say while you're on that page, we haven't got a call to action. We haven't got a telephone number, email, inquiry form. So that would definitely help with conversions. So if you scroll down the first chunk, at the bottom of that chunk, there should be a phone us, email us, get in touch. That's the point I was making. It's not there, not easily available.
Yeah. So there's the bottom page, but you can see that this site is written primarily for the Google robots because it's a huge amount of stuff to read there, and I could pick out this one as well. I mean, this used to be at the top. I don't know why they've slipped down. And it's taking a little bit of time for the site to load. Now, again, this one, I wouldn't suggest you follow this pattern because, again, it's really quite unwieldy, but if we scroll down the home page, the amount of content and the amount of questions and answers is just extreme. And they're clearly doing this for Google, but I wonder whether Google's realizing that they're manipulating this a bit too much. Maybe that's why they've gone down a little bit. But you notice that, look at these Google reviews, 555 Google reviews. You know, that's a very high number. So have a look at London Immigration Barrister, because I'd like to show you a good compromise between very Google friendly and very people friendly. So we've got the ads, and then we've got Richmond Chambers, award-winning immigration chambers, and again they're top of the magic box. Look, 367 Google reviews. Let's have a look at their website. Right, so this I think is a reasonable compromise. So it's a good-looking website. They've clearly taken some time over it. There's invitations to download the brochure, and when you go into the different types of services, they've put a lot of effort into explaining precisely what they do, and it would have taken a long time for them to do this. Now, I know that this particular firm did it themselves, and I always think that's a really good thing to do. If you have got the time and the energy and the drive, best practice is to write as much of your content as possible. If you can't do that, then get a good copywriter. Nick and I have both worked with a copywriter that is an ex-solicitor, and you'd be pleased to know that he doesn't charge solicitor rates. He charges copywriter rates, and I think Nick and I both think that he's very good at what he does. Now, there are a few searches I wanted to show you, but some clients were understandably concerned about competitors learning how they've done it. The best example, which I can't show you, is a crime firm that wanted a legal aid contract back in 2012. Because of a series of failed procurement exercises, they were forced to work hard to get private motoring work. But boy, if you looked at their website, you would see there's a lot of content there, there's a lot of videos, etc. So yeah, so I haven't explained all of the kind of Google algorithm and all the various tips and tricks, but I really just wanted to focus on a small number of areas which I think would make the difference if you were going to implement these suggestions. Okay, back over to you, Nick.
Yeah, excellent, David. If you can get that right, get those results, get to the top of Google, then yeah, it definitely works. There's a couple of things you mentioned there. The last site you showed, it went to the homepage, and the thing about the homepage, what I liked about that is it was all over the place, but a homepage can be, because the homepage's job is to get people to what they're looking for as quickly as possible. Wouldn't be an ideal layout for their internal pages, but they were different. And the other thing you mentioned on there is one of the sites you said used to be top of Google and now isn't, and it took a long time to load, and that's probably the only reason why. Google is really keen on the user journey, and that now includes measuring the speed of your website. So if it's not quick enough to load, it puts you down the search engine charts. It's as simple as that. So yeah, that was why that site's probably dropped off. So final thing, referrals, and then I see there's some websites to look at, so I can dive in and do a quick critique. I always say, one of my sayings, what gets measured gets better, and you should definitely be measuring your referrals. So I often say to solicitors, how do you get your work in? Oh, we get referrals. Great. So who refers you and how much? Well, we don't really know the numbers, but we get referrals. If you have good referrers, then my 3-step plan is simple. Measure every referral you get in. So at the time someone says, oh, Nick Jervis recommended you, write down Nick Jervis, and then at the end of the month, tot up and say, well, we had 3 referrals from Nick. Actually, over the last year, we've had 50. That's worth this to our business. We better make sure he's happy. But you can't make sure they're happy if you don't know what's happening. So you've got to know what's happening. The reward, I know some people don't like paying fees, so that's not necessarily needed. But what's important is that you acknowledge and thank the person for giving you business. I refer lots of business because it helps my clients. Those that are appreciative, it's nice to get this. I was always brought up that manners are important. So if someone is looking after your business and sending you work, it's vital that you reward them in one way, shape or form, whether it's a postcard, whether it's some wine, whether it's flowers. But you must know how important your referrers are to your business. And once you know who your best referrers are, then it's very easy to say, okay, well, look, I can see I'm getting 20 cases a year, 20 instructions a year from this type of business. What if I could find another one of those? And then that'd be 40 a year. What if I find another? And then it's 60 a year. Once you know what's working for you, and it can't be, I think they're working well, because I've gone through this process with solicitors, and the person they thought was referring the most had no quality, and there's someone they hardly acknowledged is referring to them that was worth a lot of business to them each year. So if you think referrals work for you, first of all, make sure you know they refer for you by measuring them. Make sure you then spend time with your best referrers to find out why they refer you, what they like about you, because this is all information you can use to then go out and get more of the same. So referrals is such a powerful method of getting work for solicitors. Just make sure you know who is referring to you and who's giving you that work. I've got in the resources pack for you, which I'll send you after, a marketing plan which just summarizes each of the things we've talked about. Whether you're a now business or a nurture business, you'll get access to that full document, so you can look at that at leisure. I think now would be a great time to have a look at some sites. You happy for me to do that, David? That's a nod. Let's go and see what we can find now. The chat box, I'll do this in order as they came up. City Legal Services.
I just wanted to add that because this is a webinar, I don't really think it matters if we go over the 60 minutes. People can leave if they want to, or people can stay, because I can see you've got quite a few people that have asked you to look. Yeah,
agreed. Agreed. Happy with that. This is in the right place, and I'll just say that's a good thing. The cookie thing at the bottom. There's nothing I find more frustrating than the cookie thing coming up right at the top, because it tells me that's the most important thing. So that's in the right place there. I'm getting quite a few now. I've had 3 pop-ups, so that's possibly too much. I'd say maybe we'll lose that one. Live chat, big fan of. So City Legal. If you're a firm of solicitors, I'd promote that right under your logo, and if you can say who you serve particularly, then that would be helpful. When I look down here, book an appointment, get a free case evaluation, pay online. I'm not sure where I've gone yet, because I'm getting lots of different things pop up here. So I'm not sure the message yet, but here we go. Now I'm getting some more message. Just move all the images. Award-winning law firm, immigration, wills, estate planning. So I'd be inclined to say that before I sort of get all these things that I can do. We're on the home page, so it is a signpost to places, but I'd like the intro to be closer to the top, so I can get straight into the nitty-gritty. Number 1 immigration law firm. Now we start to get to some content. Let's go on to one of the content pages, because your home page it's the page where everyone that knows you will go. The page where most people come into your site should not be your home page. It should be one of your internal pages. So if I'm looking for help on an innovative visa, this is where I should come to. So I should see City Legal Solicitors, and then we get the content here. And the one thing I didn't touch on, which is worth mentioning, is that most people are on mobiles now, and they won't see the left-hand navigation. I like this layout for being on a desktop. I can see that you've got plenty of pages, so it fulfills my proof of expertise by the depth of content. And what I'd sew in then is, so that when I'm on a mobile, I'd be sewing in reviews in this copy to actually give me those external endorsements, put in any memberships of organizations I mentioned about to prove that expertise. And then most importantly of all, give me that call to action. Tell me what to do next. I know you might say, well, it's on the left. The word consultation I would change to make a free inquiry, because I know that gets more people through the door. Consultation's very full, very lawyer-y. We're trying to make this as informal as possible and get people's contact details. So adding the call to action at the bottom there. And in the same sort of style as the copy, don't sort of put a big box, just carry on with a subject heading, how can, make a free inquiry, call us on this number, email, complete a free online inquiry. And send, even though you've got that on the left, don't say fill in the form on the left. People then have to go off and search. That assumes that on a mobile, it won't be on the left, it will be right down the bottom of the page. So just include a link that sends me off there, and that will make a big difference. Let's have a look at the next one. I've got a comma, not a dot there. Let me correct that. So again, area gross law, are we solicitors? If we are, badge of honor, whack it up there, tell me what we do. Changing the way business is, let me move the images over, done to benefit everyone. So what do we do? Award-winning corporate law firm. Okay, so we're corporate. So I might start by, I'm at this homepage, so we'll come on to that, but it started all about us. Maybe it should start about, if I'm a businessman, I run a business, then we're the firm that's going to make your life a lot better. There's all sorts of good message here, but always try and start with what the client gets out of this. No call to action here. I'd have a call to action, I'd have a review. Then we're signposted off, which is absolutely fine because it's the home page. So let's go to one of those pages. Let's go to commercial property. Got the chat here. I'm a fan of live chat, but some work better than others. And if you can have it managed for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's a fantastic thing. And that's the provider I recommend to my clients that just does it all for you. And it pops up and it has a message picture of the owner of the firm, which gets more engagement than a let's chat. Then on the commercial property page, I'd say more content. That email is linked, but it doesn't look like it is, so maybe make that bold. Add the telephone number, add link to the inquiry form, more content, and so in reviews. You're going to get a theme coming through here of what I'm going to say if all the sites are fine, but that's the key thing, definitely more content, because from that amount of content, I'm thinking, do we do a lot of commercial property law? Maybe not. If we don't, shouldn't be on there. If we do, we need more proof of that expertise, depth of content. Put in some images, because on the images we can put in alt tags, title tags for search engine marketing purposes. And obviously David was saying you need a video on there too. Let's have a look at the next one. There's quite a lot in here. We can always, I'll make you an offer that if I don't get to you on this call, because I am happy to go a few minutes, but I have got another call scheduled at 2:30, then I will happily do a one-on-one with you. We can hop on a call and have a look at your website and have a look at.
Yeah, I think you've got 14 websites. That's not possible for you to do.
No, I'll do a couple more, and then I'll do a close. Take any sort of other questions, and then we'll do the next. I mean, if you wanted, we could do a whole session where I just go into websites and review them on another call. If you think that'd be useful, let David know or let me know in the chat. Or we could just do a Q&A. So if I send you the resources pack, then you've got questions, we could do that. Or I'll offer you a one-to-one call where I can look at your marketing in more detail. So we won't leave you wondering what if or what should I be doing. We can give you more. Experienced solicitors north, clear and concise legal solutions. We've got solicitors up there. Great, fantastic. Cookie code. I've chucked that right down the bottom because it's not important to me. It's an absolutely, well, David probably it's a compliance thing. I can't stand it. I'm not sure what it does, but we have to do it. So put it at the bottom. Then you're complying. Welcome to the firm. Traditional firm solicitors, personal degree, immigration, commercial, homepage. So that's okay. Send me off to all the pages which you're doing. You've got the contact details, got a contact button, add a review. There's a review. I'd have a more detailed review, but then yeah, get me off to your pages. And what I like about law firm navigation is I generally find it set up in the way that it matters most to the law firm owner. So in this case, I'm assuming you want more personal injury than immigration, then court advocacy. For me, the only logical way for navigation to be is alphabetical. So if I'm the end user, I'm just looking down a list, and that's the way that works best. Let's have a look at the personal injury page. And content, just lots more content required to give us a chance of getting people to the site. sewing in reviews. We've got the images. I'm hovering over there. I'm not getting an alt tag, which is code behind the picture, which would match the keywords I'm targeted on the page. So personal injury solicitors should pop up when I hover over that. And we've got the mistake of sort of a contact us button. You can keep that there, but first of all, talk to me, give me more content, and then say, make an inquiry. If you've had a personal injury, if you've had an accident, you've suffered injury, please call us on this number, email us, or complete a free online inquiry. That form should then go to a separate page. This is going to take me to the contact page. And this is what I say about it's not the place to send people, because now I've got pictures, I've got phone numbers, I've got emails, I've got reviews, and I've got a form. That form should just be on its own little page where I can just go to it. It says free inquiry, fill it in, send it. You tell me you'll be in touch with me soon. So let's do one more. I'm just trying to do them in the order they came in. So excuse me while I scroll up and down. Is that crossborderlegal.co.uk? I'm assuming that should be a .u.k. Let's put the K on the end and see if we get there. So landing on the home page, taking a while to load. If you do have a look at Google's site speed test. If you Google site speed test, it will give you your speed in mobile and desktop. Don't be terrified if it comes out at 3 out of 100, which I've seen in the last couple of weeks, but work on improving it. Get your website company to do something to make it better. So cookie code down the bottom, fantastic, out the way. Won't let me get rid of it. All right, it's gone. Got an update on COVID, so we say we're still there. That's good. Scott's listers at the top. Immigration. Okay, got some contact details, lots of phone numbers, fax. Gosh, do you remember faxes? I remember telex machines. That's how old I am. Let's go to one of the service pages. That's terrible. Telex machines. What do I do? What I do, I assume this is our pages. I would have a services tab just because that's what people look for. And in we go to the content. So we've got who we are, what we do. I always try and start from the client. If my marketing mantra overriding is clients first, so always try and start, what's your client's position when they land on this page? How are they feeling? What are they thinking? Then sew in how you can help them. This is in some of the stuff I'll give you. And then sew into why you're the best person to match those needs. So we've got a list of services. List is fine. There's a lot on there. Who we work with. Okay. Who handles the case? And sew in some reviews. And then have we got a call to action, offering up to 15-minute consultations. As I say, consultations isn't my preference. Free 15-minute for inquiry would be good to get me in touch with you, but sew in those reviews because I'm looking for that specialist. And then also, each of these, in the ideal world, each of these would be a page in their own right, which would sell your service. And just that point I mentioned about the testimonials, they're on the right-hand side there, but on a mobile, I'm only going to see this central content column. That's why you need to sew in the reviews there. Yeah, so as I say, we won't leave you hanging. We'll get to you somehow. David and I will work out whether to do another one of these, or we do more reviews and questions, or whether you get to me one by one. But I'm going to send it in the resource. I'll send you the resources. I've got your details. I'll send you my email marketing setup guide. If you're not doing email marketing, it works for practically every firm. There'll be some exceptions, but even then, so if you said, well, I'm a family solicitor, no one wants me to email them about divorce once they've been divorced, those people still have needs for conveyancing, property matters, wills. Even if you don't offer those services, I said referrals are a great source. If you run an email list that just gives people generally advice about legal services, then you can refer off to other people that don't do family work, who can then send back to you, and you'll know they should send back to you because you'll say, oh, David, I sent you 5 leads last week. Why haven't you sent me anything? So you can still use email marketing even if you're a niche practice, because your clients have other legal needs. LinkedIn prospecting, I particularly like LinkedIn if you're B2B. If you're B2B services and you're not doing really well on LinkedIn, and you don't send emails out regularly, then you're probably a third of the business is that you could be if you did those things. It makes a dramatic difference. I'll give you that complete marketing plan. I'll give you this slide deck, and I'll give you a way to have a call with me if you would like to. And that's it in summary. David, do you want to talk afterwards about what we could do next? Do you want to do a follow-up Q&A, or should we just leave it to me to speak to people one by one?
I think let's take a few based on the inquiries that we received. So if you'd like to send an inquiry either to Nick or I, we'll decide what's the best way of answering your questions. We probably will do an FAQ page if we have a number of questions which haven't been answered during the course of the last hour. There's just one point I wanted to, or a couple of points I wanted to pick up on. Nick was talking earlier about engaging with your clients by sending them not just emails but also briefings, communications, etc. One of the things that's worked for me and works for some of our clients is if they have branded materials. So, and as long as they're good quality and not cheap. So for instance, we always have these DG Legal pens and coasters and various other things, and we've had a lot of feedback about that, and I certainly think they are worth spending a bit of money on. Just finally about pay-per-click, most of our clients, Nick, have not been brave enough to go with pay-per-click. I do have one client that started off at zero back in 2014 or 15 and spent a little bit of money, then a bit more, then a bit more. He got up to £100,000 a week, which I thought was a bit frightening, but he was getting $250 back.
Yeah, as long as
and
it
he
goes
was
back.
also using something called clickbait, which I'm not going to go into right now, but it's all about tempting people to click on your site, etc. So we've done just over an hour, so I think people's attention is going to start to wane a little bit. So I'd just like to say thank you very much, Nick. I think that was very informative, and hopefully people have learnt a couple of things and maybe have got something to take away from the last hour. We will get in touch with everybody just to ask for feedback, etc., because that motivates us to do more and more of these free webinars. And as I said earlier, please keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks all for coming, and thank you for your lovely comments in the chat box. Much appreciated. And we will follow up and make sure you get some more information if you need it. But most importantly, obviously, I'd like you to take some action following today, even if it's just going through your website and making sure you put your phone number, email, inquiry form on a separate page at the bottom of every page. That's such a simple thing, but honestly, if you've got any traffic to your website, it will get you more inquiries. It will make your phone ring more. Action. It's all about action, the next bit.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thanks all. See you all again. Thanks for your time.
Bye.